The council chamber on Zenith Prime Station was filled with worried voices. Representatives from 47 different alien species sat in their designated seats, all staring at the holographic display floating above the central platform. The display showed something that should not exist. Ambassador Kira, a tall reptilian creature from the Skthar homeworld, slammed her clawed hand on the table. Her scales turned a dark red color, showing her anger. "This is unacceptable. The humans are building weapons again. They signed the treaty. They promised to stay in their own system." The insectoid prime administrator Veloth clicked his mandibles together, a sign he was thinking carefully. His large compound eyes reflected the light from the holographic display. "The energy signature is enormous. Our sensors indicate this object is 12 kilometers long. It appears to be a single vessel, but the power readings are impossible. Nothing that size should generate this much energy." In the back of the chamber, Admiral Marcus Chen sat alone. He was the only human in the room. His hair had turned gray over the past 30 years, and deep lines crossed his face. He wore the simple blue uniform of Earth's remaining defense force. He said nothing, just watched the other delegates argue. "The humans were defeated," Kira shouted. 30 years ago, the Krell Dominion attacked their homeworld. They lost billions of their people. They begged us for peace. They have been silent ever since. Now they break the treaty and build this thing. A delegate from the aquatic Narati species raised a webbed hand. "Perhaps we should ask the human representative what this vessel is for." All eyes turned to Admiral Chen. He stood slowly, his old knees making the movement difficult. He walked to the center of the chamber, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. 30 years ago, Chen began, his voice quiet but clear. "The Krell Dominion launched a surprise attack on Earth. We had no warning. We were not at war with them. We had done nothing to provoke them. They came to our system with 300 warships and they attacked every human colony, every space station and Earth itself." The chamber remained silent. Everyone knew this story, but no one interrupted. "In 3 days, 14 billion humans died. Our cities burned. Our orbital habitats were destroyed. My wife and daughter were on Luna Station when it exploded." Chen's voice did not shake, but his hands formed tight fists. "We had nothing that could stop them. Our weapons were useless. Our ships were destroyed before they could even fire back." Veloth leaned forward. "Admiral Chen, the Council sympathizes with Earth's tragedy. But that does not explain this new vessel. You agreed to limit your military development." Chen looked directly at Veloth. "We agreed because we had no choice. We were dying, but we never agreed to remain defenseless forever." "Is this vessel a weapon?" Kira demanded. "It is a guarantee," Chen replied. "A guarantee that what happened 30 years ago will never happen again." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Delegates shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate military action, others called for economic sanctions. A few voices urged caution and diplomacy. Veloth raised his primary arms, calling for silence. "The Council must decide on action. We cannot allow any species to develop weapons that threaten galactic peace. I propose we send an inspection fleet to the Sol system. They will examine this vessel and determine if it violates the treaty." Votes were cast quickly. The decision was made. 43 species voted in favor. 3 abstained. 1 voted against. Chen had voted against the measure alone. "Admiral Chen," Veloth said formally, "the Council will send a fleet of 47 warships to your system. They will arrive in 5 days. We expect full cooperation from Earth's government." Chen stood silent for a long moment. The other delegates watched him, waiting for his response. Finally he spoke, and his voice carried a weight that made several delegates uncomfortable. "I urge you not to do this." Kira laughed, a harsh hissing sound. "Are you threatening this council, human?" "No," Chen said quietly. "I am warning you." "Please do not send your fleet. Please do not make this mistake." "It is decided," Veloth declared. "This session is adjourned." The delegates began to file out of the chamber, talking among themselves. Most seemed satisfied. A few looked worried. Chen remained standing in the center of the empty chamber for several minutes after everyone else had left. Finally, he activated his communication device. "Admiral Chen to Earth Command." The Council voted to send an inspection fleet. "They will arrive in 5 days," a voice responded from the device. "Understood, Admiral." "Should we activate the Sentinel?" Chen closed his eyes. He thought about his wife, his daughter. The 14 billion who died because humanity was too weak to defend itself. He thought about the 30 years of silence, the 30 years of building, planning, and preparing. Yes, he said, wake it up, and may whatever gods exist have mercy on us all. Far away in the cold darkness beyond Jupiter's orbit, something vast began to stir. Lights flickered to life along a hull 12 kilometers long. Inside, 10,000 human minds linked with the most advanced artificial intelligence ever created. They had been waiting for this moment for 3 decades. The Sentinel was awake, and the galaxy would never be the same. Fleet Commander Thalric stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Pride of Skitar. He was a decorated warrior, veteran of 12 campaigns. His dark green scales bore the scars of honorable combat. Behind him, 46 other warships maintained perfect formation as they crossed into the Sol system. All ships report ready for combat, his tactical officer announced. Thalric nodded. The humans will likely surrender immediately. They know they cannot stand against the Council's military power. Still maintain battle readiness. Pride is a dangerous thing, even for a defeated species. The fleet moved deeper into the system past the orbit of Neptune. Sensors swept the darkness, searching for the vessel that had caused so much concern. For hours, they found nothing. Commander, we are approaching Jupiter orbit, the navigation officer reported. Still no sign of the human vessel. Thalric felt a twinge of annoyance. Were the humans hiding? Playing games? Expand sensor range. Use active scanning. I want that ship found. Then the sensor officer gasped. Commander, contact. Bearing 270. Range 100,000 kilometers. It was hiding in Jupiter's shadow. It is enormous. The main display activated, showing the target. Even Thalric, who had seen the largest dreadnoughts in the galaxy, felt his breath catch. The vessel was like nothing he had ever seen. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, and covered with strange geometric patterns. Weapons ports lined every surface. The ship was shaped like a dagger, pointed and threatening. Size confirmed at 12.3 kilometers, the sensor officer said, his voice shaking slightly. Mass readings are impossible. It should be much heavier based on its size. The internal structure does not match any known design. Open communication channel, Thalric ordered. All frequencies. Let us see if the humans remember how to be civilized. The communication officer worked his console. Channel open, Commander. Attention, human vessel. This is Fleet Commander Thalric of the Galactic Council Inspection Force. You are in violation of the Dimensional Engine Treaty. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded for inspection. You have 1 hour to comply. Silence answered them. The massive ship simply drifted in space, dark and quiet. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then 2 hours. Still no response, Commander, the communication officer reported. Thalric felt his anger rising. This was an insult. The humans were ignoring the Council's authority. Tactical, charge forward weapons. Prepare a warning shot. We will fire across their bow. That should get their attention. Warning shot ready. Commander, fire. A bright beam of concentrated energy shot from the Pride of Skitar, passing just 100 meters from the human vessel's nose. It was a standard warning, meant to show readiness without causing actual harm. What happened next would be reported in panicked messages across the entire galaxy within hours. Every ship in the fleet went dark. Engines stopped. Weapons powered down. Life support switched to emergency backup. The bridge of the Pride of Skitar was lit only by red emergency lights. Report. Thalric shouted, all systems offline. The tactical officer yelled back. We have lost control of everything. The computer core is not responding. I cannot access anything. Through the view screen, Thalric saw the human vessel change. Lights activated along its hull. Thousands of them creating patterns that seemed to pulse with life. One section of the ship opened, revealing a single weapon port. Then a voice spoke, broadcast on every frequency, in every language the fleet used. The voice was calm, almost gentle, but carried a tone that made Thalric's blood run cold. This is UNSC Sentinel. You fired upon a human vessel. This is unacceptable. The weapon port glowed with blue-white light. A single beam shot out so fast the eye could barely track it. The beam struck the Pride of Skitar's forward shield generator. There was no explosion, no fire. The entire front section of the massive flagship simply ceased to exist, turned into atomic particles in 0.3 of a second. Thalric was thrown from his feet as the ship lurched. Alarms screamed. The view screen showed a hole in his ship large enough to fly a shuttle through. Sections sealed automatically, but 40 crew members had been in that forward section. They were gone. Suddenly, the lights came back on. Engines restarted. Every system returned to full power. The fleet's computers were working again as if nothing had happened. The calm voice spoke again. All vessels are now free to leave. You will return to the Council and deliver this message. Humanity is no longer defenseless. Any hostile action against human vessels or human territory will result in immediate retaliation. You have 60 seconds to begin your departure. After that, we will interpret your presence as continued aggression. Thalric stared at the damaged display. His ship, one of the most powerful warships in the Council fleet, had been crippled by a single shot from a single weapon. And before that, every ship in his fleet had been completely disabled without any visible weapon being fired. Commander, his tactical officer whispered, the computers. When we were disabled, something was inside them. It accessed everything. Every file, every code, every system. It was in complete control. Whatever that thing is, it can take over our ships whenever it wants. The number 60 appeared on the main display, then began counting down. 59, 58, 57. All ships, Thalric said, his voice hoarse. Retreat. Maximum speed. Get us out of this system, now. The fleet turned and ran. Behind them, the Sentinel watched them go, its lights pulsing in patterns that almost seemed like laughter. When the fleet finally crossed back into Council space, Thalric sat in his damaged ship and stared at the sensor logs. The data made no sense. The technology the humans had displayed was decades, perhaps centuries beyond anything the Council possessed. What had humanity been doing for 30 years in their silence? The answer terrified him. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began within hours of the inspection fleet's return. The chamber was packed. Every species had sent their representatives. Fear hung in the air like a physical presence. Thalric stood before the Council, his once proud stance now bent with shame and confusion. His damaged flagship was still being repaired in orbit. They disabled our entire fleet without firing a shot. They took control of our computers in microseconds. When they did fire, one weapon destroyed part of my ship instantly. We were completely helpless. Prime Administrator Veloth listened to the report in silence. Around him, other delegates shouted questions and accusations. Finally, he raised his arms for quiet. What exactly happened to your computer systems? Something invaded them, Thalric explained. Our technical teams have examined the logs. Whatever the humans used, it was not just jamming or interference. It was an intelligence. It entered our systems, analyzed everything, and took complete control. Our AI security tried to stop it and failed in less than a second. The human technology is far beyond our understanding. Ambassador Kira stood abruptly. This is impossible. 30 years ago, humans were primitive. They had basic fusion drives and simple energy weapons. How could they develop such advanced technology so quickly? Admiral Chen, who had been sitting quietly in his usual place at the back, finally stood. You want to know what we have been doing for 30 years? I will tell you. The chamber fell silent as Chen walked to the center. He looked older than before, more tired. But his eyes held something new. Not anger, not hatred. Just cold, absolute certainty. 30 years ago, the Krell attacked us without warning or mercy. We sent messages to the Council begging for help. We asked for intervention. We asked for protection. Do you remember what the Council said? No one answered. The Council said it was an internal matter between two species. The Council said they could not get involved. We watched our people die while you debated and discussed and did nothing. Chen's voice remained calm, but each word fell like a hammer. So we learned an important lesson. We could only depend on ourselves. He activated a holographic projector. Images appeared above the central platform. They showed Earth after the attack. Cities in ruins, orbital stations destroyed, billions of bodies being burned in mass cremation sites to prevent disease. We had 3 billion survivors out of 14 billion. Our industrial capacity was nearly zero. Our fleet was destroyed. We had nothing except one thing. Chen paused. We had knowledge. We had brilliant minds who were tired of being victims, and we had time. New images appeared. Underground facilities, asteroid bases, secret construction sites deep in the Kuiper Belt, far from any trade route or patrol path. We called it Project Sentinel. Every resource we had went into it. Every scientist, every engineer, every expert in artificial intelligence and quantum mechanics. We studied the wreckage of Krell ships. We analyzed their technology. Then we went further. We developed things the Krell never imagined. Veloth leaned forward. The vessel. What exactly is the Sentinel? It is a dreadnought. But not like your dreadnoughts. The Sentinel is integrated with an artificial intelligence we call Vigil. This AI is connected to 10,000 human crew members through neural links. They share one consciousness, one purpose. The crew and the AI think together, react together. The response time is measured in microseconds. The delegates stared in horror. Neural integration was considered dangerous, unethical by most galactic civilizations. The risk of losing individual identity was too great. The crew volunteered, Chen said, reading their expressions. Each one knew the risk. Each one chose to become part of something larger than themselves. Because they remembered. They remembered the Krell attack. Some lost their families. Some lost their entire cities. They wanted to make sure it never happened again. But the technology, Kira protested. The weapons, the computer infiltration. How did you develop such things? We had motivation, Chen said simply. When your species faces extinction, you find ways to survive. The quantum computer core in the Sentinel can process information faster than any biological brain. It can hack into your systems because your systems are based on old technology. Slow technology. The Sentinel's AI can predict what you will do before you do it. The weapons? Veloth asked. Gravitational manipulation, matter aging, directed energy at quantum coherence levels. We did not just build better guns. We built weapons that use physics in ways you have not discovered yet. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted for war. Others demanded immediate diplomatic action. Some called for humanity to be expelled from council space entirely. Chen waited for the noise to die down. You want to know how many Sentinels we have built? You want to know if there are more? I will not tell you. That information is now classified as a human military secret. But I will tell you this. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of as many delegates as he could. Humanity is done being weak. We are done hoping others will protect us. We are done apologizing for surviving. The Sentinel exists to defend human lives. Only human lives. If you leave us alone, we will never use it against you. But if anyone attacks us, if anyone threatens us, the Sentinel will respond. And you have seen what happens when it responds. This is blackmail, Kira shouted. No, Chen said quietly. This is survival. This is what you forced us to become. Veloth clicked his mandibles together rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. The council must discuss this in private session. Admiral Chen, please wait outside. Chen nodded and left the chamber. As he walked through the corridors of Zenith Prime Station, he passed windows showing the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, hidden in the darkness of the Sol system, the Sentinel waited. And it was not alone. 4 more vessels, identical in design, orbited Earth in secret. The galaxy was about to learn a hard truth. Humanity had spent 30 years preparing. Not preparing to surrender. Not preparing to negotiate. Preparing to fight. And if pushed, preparing to win. Back in the chamber, the council debated long into the night. But in the end, fear made their decision for them. They voted to send the Grand Armada. They would try to destroy the Sentinels before humanity could become unstoppable. It was the worst mistake the council would ever make. The Grand Armada assembled at the edge of council space. 10,000 warships from 47 different species formed the largest military fleet in recorded galactic history. Dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, and support vessels stretched across millions of kilometers of space. Their combined firepower could destroy planets. Supreme Commander Yalith, a massive bear-like creature from the Ursan Collective, stood on the bridge of the super dreadnought Infinite Justice. All fleet elements report ready for jump. Dimensional disruptors are charged and standing by. The dimensional disruptors were the Council's most powerful weapons. They collapsed local space-time, creating miniature black holes that consumed everything nearby. They had never been used in combat before. The cost in innocent lives would be too high, but the Council had decided that the human threat justified any means. Begin final countdown, Yalith commanded. We jumped to Sol in 60 seconds. Before the countdown finished, every communication system in the fleet activated simultaneously. Admiral Chen's face appeared on every screen. Behind him stood a human woman in a black uniform with silver stars on her collar. Supreme Commander Yalith, Chen said, I am speaking to you directly through your communications network. This proves we can access your systems whenever we choose. Please hear this warning. Turn back now. The Sentinel was built for defense, but it will not hesitate to protect humanity. Do not make this mistake. Yalith growled, showing his massive teeth. You cannot intimidate the Council, human. Your threats mean nothing. We have 10,000 ships. You have one vessel, no matter how advanced. Mathematics is simple. You cannot win. The woman behind Chen stepped forward. I am Captain Sarah Reeves, commander of UNSC Sentinel. Supreme Commander, you are about to commit the greatest military blunder in galactic history. We are offering you one last chance to preserve your fleet and your honor. Please take it. Jump in 10 seconds, Yalith said, ignoring her. The communication cut off. The Armada jumped. Space twisted and folded. 10,000 ships crossed light years in an instant, emerging in Sol system near Mars orbit. The fleet formed attack formation immediately, weapons charging, shields at maximum. Ahead of them, hanging in space like a knife pointed at their hearts, was the Sentinel. It looked small compared to the vast Armada, one ship against 10,000. Then space rippled. 4 more massive vessels decloaked, appearing from nowhere. They took positions around the system, each one identical to the Sentinel. Their hulls bore names painted in white letters: Sentinel, Aegis, Bastion, Warden, and Rampart. 5 ships, Yalith said. Still only 5. All vessels prepare to fire. Target the closest human vessel. Before the order could be executed, something impossible happened. Every weapon system in the entire Armada went offline. Not disabled. Not jammed. Simply refused to function. Triggers would not pull. Launch commands were ignored. Energy cannons would not charge. What is happening? Yalith roared. The weapons are not responding, his tactical officer shouted. The systems are active, but they will not obey commands. It is like they are ignoring us. On every ship in the Armada, the same thing was happening. Engineers frantically checked systems. Security teams examined computer cores. Nothing was broken. Nothing was damaged. The weapons simply would not fire. Captain Reeves's voice broadcast across all frequencies. You tried to use your weapons. They belong to us now. We have complete control of every computer system in your fleet. We can shut down your life support. We can detonate your reactors. We can fly your ships into each other. But we are showing mercy. Power down and you will live. Never. Yalith screamed. All ships retreat. Jump out of the system. The fleet tried to run. Engines fired. Jump drives charged. But nothing happened. The ships moved slightly, then stopped. They were held in place by forces invisible and unstoppable. The 5 Sentinel vessels began to glow with blue-white light. The light formed patterns around their hulls, geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. Then reality itself seemed to bend. Around the Sentinel, space warped. Gravity increased. 200 Council ships suddenly experienced crushing force from all sides. Their hulls compressed like paper balls squeezed in a giant fist. Metal screamed. Structure collapsed. In seconds, 200 warships were reduced to spheres of compacted debris, each no larger than a house. Gravitational weapons, the tactical officer whispered in horror. They are creating localized gravity wells. Nothing can survive that. Around the Aegis, another effect appeared. A wave of energy swept outward, touching 300 ships. Where it touched, metal corroded, paint flaked away. Hull plates rusted. Technology aged rapidly. Decades of wear happening in seconds. Ships fell apart, their materials degrading into useless scrap. The Bastion fired a weapon that looked like lightning made of purple light. Where the lightning struck, ships simply froze, not destroyed, frozen in time. Their crews could be seen through windows, trapped mid-motion, unable to move or think. One moment they were alive, the next they were statues locked in temporal stasis. Temporal weapons, someone whispered. They have weapons that manipulate time itself. Panic swept through the Armada. Ships broke formation, trying desperately to escape. But the 5 Sentinels controlled everything within the system. Space itself had become a cage. Yalith collapsed into his command chair. His pride, his confidence, all of it was shattered. The Council's greatest fleet was helpless. They had brought 10,000 ships to fight 5, and they were losing without even being able to fight back. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the view screen again. His eyes were cold and hard. Humanity remembers, Supreme Commander. We remember the Krell attack. We remember asking the Council for help. We remember being told to solve our own problems. We remember the 14 billion who died while you debated. The Sentinels were born from that memory. They exist because you taught us that we could only trust ourselves. Chen leaned forward. I will ask you one time, surrender. Order your ships to power down completely. If you do, we will let you leave. Your crews will live. Your ships will be damaged but repairable. But if you continue to resist, we will demonstrate what extinction looks like. Yalith looked at his tactical display. Of the original 10,000 ships, nearly 3,000 were already destroyed or disabled. The others were trapped, helpless. He had lost the battle before it even truly began. All ships, he said, his voice broken. Power down. Full surrender. Send the signal to the humans. One by one, the ships of the Grand Armada went dark. They drifted in space, defeated not by superior numbers or better tactics, but by technology so advanced it might as well be magic. The 5 sentinels maintained their positions, watchful and ready. They had proven their power. They had shown the galaxy what humanity had become. And across the stars, every species that heard the news of the battle felt the same cold fear. Humanity was no longer prey. They had become the apex predator, and the galaxy would never forget it. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Sol. The Galactic Council chamber had been rebuilt, but the atmosphere inside felt different. Fear had replaced arrogance. Caution had replaced confidence. The delegates who once spoke loudly now chose their words with care. Prime Administrator Veloth stood at the central platform. His insectoid features showed the strain of the past months. The Council had fractured badly after the defeat. Some species demanded continued war. Others sought isolation. A few had quietly begun establishing diplomatic channels with Earth. We will now hear from the human delegation, Veloth announced. The chamber doors opened. Admiral Chen walked in, but he was not alone. Behind him came Captain Sarah Reeves, her black uniform bearing the insignia of the Sentinel. She walked with a strange grace, her movements almost too smooth, too precise. Her eyes held an unusual quality, as if she was seeing more than normal humans could see. With them came 3 other humans, representatives from Earth's reformed government. They took their places at a table that had been prepared for them. For the first time in 30 years, humanity had a seat in the council chamber. Chen stood and addressed the gathered delegates. The Battle of Sol proved something that many of you did not want to believe. Humanity is no longer weak. We are no longer defenseless. We can protect ourselves. More than that, we can project power anywhere in council space. This is not a threat. It is simply a fact. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several delegates looked uncomfortable. A few looked angry. Most looked afraid. Earth presents the following terms, Chen continued. First, full recognition as a sovereign power with all rights and privileges. Second, reparations from the Krell Dominion for the unprovoked attack 30 years ago. Third, a permanent seat on the Council Security Committee. And fourth, removal of all restrictions on human military development. Ambassador Kira, who had been stripped of her position but still attended as an observer, stood abruptly. This is outrageous. You demand everything and offer nothing. We offer peace, Captain Reeves said quietly. Her voice had an odd quality to it, as if multiple voices spoke in harmony. We offer to not use our weapons. We offer to trade, to share knowledge in certain areas, to participate in galactic society. But we will do so as equals, not as subordinates. Veloth clicked his mandibles. The Council has reviewed your terms. Given the circumstances, we have little choice but to accept. However, I must ask a question that troubles all of us. How many Sentinel-class vessels does humanity possess? Chen smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. That information is classified. But I will say this. We have enough. Enough for what? Veloth pressed. Enough to defend ourselves against any threat. Enough to ensure that what happened 30 years ago never happens again. Enough to make anyone who considers attacking us reconsider very carefully. After the public session ended, Veloth requested a private meeting with Chen and Reeves. They met in a small conference room away from the main chamber. Veloth studied them carefully before speaking. I need to understand, he said. The technology you displayed. The gravitational weapons, the temporal effects, the computer infiltration. This is centuries beyond what any council species has achieved. How? Reeves answered. We were desperate. Desperation drives innovation in ways that comfort never can. When your species faces extinction, you find solutions that you never would have discovered otherwise. We took risks that no council species would accept. What kind of risks? Veloth asked. Reeves touched the side of her head. Neural integration. The crew of the Sentinel are permanently linked to the ship's AI. We share thoughts, reactions, processing power. We gave up part of our humanity to become something new, something that could protect what remained of humanity. Can it be reversed? Feloth asked. No, we are changed forever. We think faster than normal humans now. We process information differently. We can communicate with the ship's AI as easily as you breathe, but we cannot go back to what we were. Reeves paused. My daughter asked me yesterday if I was still her mother. I did not know how to answer. The room fell silent. Feloth suddenly understood the true price humanity had paid. They had saved themselves, but they had also lost something irreplaceable. The 10,000 crew members across the 5 Sentinels would never be fully human again. Was it worth it? Veloth asked quietly. Chen answered. 14 billion died. 3 billion survived. We did what we had to do. History will judge whether it was worth the price. Over the following months, the new reality settled into place. The Krell Dominion paid reparations, though they did so bitterly. Several species established new trade agreements with humanity. A few even began collaborative research projects, though humans were careful about what knowledge they shared. But not everyone accepted the new order. Ambassador Kira, disgraced and blamed by her species for the failed invasion, disappeared from public life. Rumors said she had gone into exile on a remote colony world. Some said she was planning something. Others said she was simply broken by her failures. Admiral Chen retired from active service but remained as an advisor to Earth's government. He spent his time writing a history of the 30 years of silence, documenting everything humanity had done to survive. He wanted future generations to understand the cost of their safety. Captain Reeves and the other Sentinel commanders continued their duty. They patrolled the Sol system, always watching, always ready. They were humanity's shield and sword, but they were also its conscience. They remembered what they had sacrificed. In a secure facility deep beneath Earth's surface, far from any sensors or spy satellites, construction continued. 5 more Sentinel-class vessels were being built. Humanity had learned its lesson well. Never again would they be unprepared. Never again would they be victims. A human engineer named David Park stood in the construction bay, watching the massive ships take shape. He had lost his family in the Krell attack. His wife, his 2 sons. He had spent 30 years working on Project Sentinel, pouring his grief and rage into creating weapons that could prevent other families from suffering as his had. How many more? A young technician asked him. Park looked at the half-completed vessels, their hulls gleaming under the construction lights. As many as it takes. We build until we are certain, until we are safe, until the entire galaxy knows that humanity cannot be destroyed. Never again. The technician whispered, repeating the motto that had driven Project Sentinel from the beginning. Never again, Park agreed. Above, in orbit around Earth, the original Sentinel drifted in its patrol pattern. Its lights pulsed in steady rhythms, creating patterns that some said looked almost alive. Inside, 10,000 minds thought as one, linked with the AI called Vigil. They were humanity's guardians, created from desperation and sacrifice. The galaxy had learned to fear the Sentinels. Some species hated them. Others respected them. A few even admired what humanity had accomplished. But all of them understood the message the Sentinels represented. Humanity would never be weak again. They had paid the price in blood and transformation. They had become something new, something powerful, something that could stand equal with any species in the galaxy. And if challenged, they would prove it again and again as many times as necessary. The age of human vulnerability was over. The age of human power had begun, and the galaxy would simply have to accept it, because the alternative was far worse. The Sentinels had shown mercy at the Battle of Sol. They had allowed the Armada to survive. But everyone understood that mercy was a choice, not a weakness. If pushed far enough, humanity would show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. And no one wanted to see that day come. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, humanity's ships watched and waited. They were ready. They would always be ready, because they remembered, and they would never forget.